everybody. Glad you're here. This is the Chase Squirrelson Show, and I'm your host, Chase Squirrelson. And if you're listening right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Today's episode is one of those conversations that starts simple and then goes somewhere interesting. So let's jump in. Welcome to the inaugural or debut of the Chase Squirrelson Show. I'm Chase Squirrelson, and my qualification to do a podcast is I am deeply affected by ADHD. And my life is littered with all kinds of people who have been involved with me. Some are still with me. Others, I overstayed my welcome. But ADHD is an interesting condition, let's say. I wouldn't say I'm disabled. There's an expression, differently abled. But I have strengths and weaknesses. And why I'm here is I really want people to be able to relate to somebody who lives with ADHD for his whole life and wasn't actually diagnosed till recently, and all the people that lived with me and the effect I've had on people, both positive and negative. And my goal in this show is to lend humor and some take-home value for the people who live with someone like me, and for people like me. And ADHD is quite an adventure. It's I can be the life of the party, or I can be a person that they wish would go home sooner than later. But that's what it's like. And I just know there are people out there like me, or put up with people like me. And I guess what it's like in a way to have ADHD, there's so much going on in my head. I feel sometimes like I'm an air traffic controller with like 15 planes in the air, but there's no place for them to land. And that's the problem. I got all these ideas. I can start 15 projects, never finish any of them. Or I know right now, I think I have 11 books in process in various stages of completion. And part of ADHD, and you can research it if you want, is I'm really a dopamine addict, because neurotypical people who don't have ADHD have a balance in their brains. They're not starving for dopamine and need to get it any way they can. ADHD, I can get my dopamine hit by doing something great, exciting, or I can do it by doing something harmful to myself in some form or fashion, or obnoxious or whatever. So ADHD person is like a puppy who will go to the next thing that distracts him. Kind of think of me as a puppy. I'm more like a squirrel running around in a cage, distracted by whatever comes in to my view. As a lifetime ADHD person, I feel like I have a lot of strengths. I mean, I have some strengths that I didn't recognize. I can be very creative. I can come up with ideas where people say, where did that come from? I can be clever. I can be smart. I can be a visionary. When I ran a business once, I saw the end product of what my company could be. I had no idea how to implement any of it, but I hired people smarter than me, and they did the things that I was not good at. I'm not an implementer. If you need ideas, sit down with me and I'll give you more than you can handle. But if you want them implemented, you better find somebody else. And that's what I did. I have a problem with focus, but I also have the advantage of hyperfocus. If I'm really interested in something, 6 hours can go by in a flash. So that's a real strength. I have a lens. I kind of believe I look through life through a lens that is not something that neurotypical people would understand. Recently, I was at a show, and I was sitting in the front row watching a musical. And all of a sudden, I'm noticing that the front row has 7 seats to the aisle on the right, but only 5 on the left. Where is that coming from? There's a beautiful musical 10 feet from me, and I'm examining if the seats are symmetrical or what the hell's going on. And so that's why sometimes people will say to me, well, I told you that last week. Well, the odds of me being present at any given time are somewhat difficult. Weaknesses, certainly weaknesses. I have a lack of focus. I'm easily distracted. I have trouble prioritizing things. I might need to get this podcast ready, and I have to get it done today. But I have a library in my home, and the books are so disorganized, I might catch that and then go into the library and try to assort them by color. Where did that come from? I have an episode deadline. I also am a chronic interrupter, if I'm not being aware of it. It's easy for me to dominate a discussion at dinner and not let anybody else talk about what they want to talk about. I can start numerous projects and finish none of them. I have hobbies that I have, but I've not really followed up on whatever I need to do to finish a project. You know, I love brainstorming, even when I don't have time to brainstorm. And so it's a real problem as far as being able to prioritize my time and get things done. In my business, I had to hire all kinds of implementers. I'm an idea guy. I'm a visionary. I'm a quick start guy. If you want, I can decide that I need a new desk for my office, but I'm not willing to do any of the research and to find out what fits the decorating theme. Like I live in a house that would have kind of a Spanish revival theme, but it might be 3 or 4 years before I even put any furniture in, or I might have some pledge paddle hanging from the walls, which totally don't fit. I'm all over the board, and one of my friends suggested that I try not to tightly script myself for this podcast because it wouldn't sound like me. I want to sound like me, which sounds like a very distracted person who is prone to go on a rant or a tangent at any time. It wouldn't be unlike me to be talking to you right now and all of a sudden wonder why men have nipples. You know, what's the function of men having nipples? But where did that come from? And you can expect that kind of stuff from me. Why do some wiffle balls have 26 holes and some only have 16? Why is that even relevant to anyone? But I might want to research that. There'll be lots of topics we'll cover. Science, sports, politics, the humorous side, music, culture. And who knows what will come into my mind. It might be who actually built the pyramids. I might get really into that. And I want to talk quite a bit about what it's like for me and people like me to have ADHD. And I think it's important to notice not everybody has ADHD to the same degree. Autism has a spectrum. I think ADHD has a spectrum as well. I want to talk about processing emotions and anger. I've gotten in so much trouble in my life by not having a governor to keep my anger within acceptable bounds. And I've hurt relationships doing that. I have to admit, I have an oldest daughter not speaking to me for almost 10 months because I said some things too often that were too critical or whatever. And so I deserve what I'm getting. Lack of focus. Yesterday, I was doing some preparation for this and found myself playing gin rummy online for an hour. I don't have time to do that, but decided to do that. And I do understand now with some of the research I'm doing is that dopamine hit, I want it any way I can get it. In games like whether it's Wordle, crossword puzzles, anything like gin rummy games, I can get instant dopamine by winning or losing. So there's a real attraction to those kind of games for me. And yes, they waste time, but a neurotypical person has 80% of the dopamine level they need. Someone like me has 20%. So I've got to get it somewhere, whether it's productive or sometimes even destructive. Poor time management, in my mind, it only takes 15 minutes to get anywhere, including St. Louis, and I live in the Chicago area. So planning how long it takes to get somewhere sometimes is a challenge for me. Unfinished work or hobbies is my signature. I think I have a dozen books maybe that are started, and that doesn't include about 15 audiobooks. I have all kinds of things unfinished. I get easily bored. I'm very impulsive. You never know what I'm going to do. And my impulsivity can take all kinds of forms, especially impulse buying. In my kitchen, I still have 24 boxes of baking soda because I thought I was ordering one, but of course I was watching a Cub game and reading somebody's blog while I was on Amazon. So I have 24 baking soda boxes. And that stuff happens to me all the time. I'm able to hyperfocus in extraordinary ways. When I really love something, I can lock in. I used to do some hockey broadcasting. And one of the challenges for a hockey broadcaster or any broadcaster, but particularly hockey, because it's so fast, you have to know the jersey numbers and the names of the opposing team. The home team you know because you do all their games. But a visiting team, I may only have 24 hours to learn their names and jersey numbers. That takes a lot of focus. I can do that. I can do it in 15, 20 minutes. Creativity is a gift for me. I'm able to come up with ideas or connect dots some other people don't see. I can be very funny. Hopefully you'll see that in this. I can communicate. I'm not shy. I can't get into an elevator with other people without talking to them. It's impossible. I'm gifted in being, I think, sensitive in some ways to people's feelings to the point where I'm an over-pleaser. I am big picture. When I ran my company, I saw a vision of what we could be. I don't know how to get there. I had some ideas, but I had a whole bunch of people working for me smarter than me and were able to do those things. So the finished product I can see. I just don't know how to get there. What can you expect like from today as I rant on? Just stories, tangents, some brutal honesty, and I'm willing to be vulnerable, and that's something I don't have a problem with. Hopefully I'll be humorous. I'll give you take-home value that I still need to listen to myself. There'll be surprises because I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth half the time. I may go on rants, and there'll be some stream of conscious stuff. I was married for 39 years, so I have an ex-wife that can vouch for all this stuff. She lived with me. She deserves a medal. I'm one of the few people that say I deserve to be divorced. So you'll be getting things out of this. And if you do get anything out of this, let me know, because I might not get anything out of it myself. So I'm hoping to hear from you. Also, I want to thank you for listening. This is an honor that someone would actually take the time to listen to what I have to say. And I'd love to hear from you at any time. Your contact information I will provide. And at this point, I really need to cut off because outside my window right now, and that's why I'm a little distracted, there's some kids playing wiffle ball. And I thought it would really be cool if they could get a leaf blower to help alter the trajectory of the ball. And then maybe they can use some piece of pipe or something. So here I am worrying about some kids in the next yard with wiffle ball. And that's just kind of what happens to me. So the wiffle ball situation is something very, very typical for me. I can go from listening to an impassioned speech by Gandhi to wondering why people eat so much white rice. It can't be good for you. I mean, so I can't really, hard for me to stay on any particular topic. Probably every broadcast, I'm going to have the distraction of the week. One of them that happened this week was interesting. I decided that I wanted to listen to an Audible book that I had run across. And I have about 57 audiobooks in my library, and I've only finished 6 of them, I believe. So I thought it would be better, actually, instead of an audiobook, I want to read more to stay in the practice of actually reading. So I thought, well, you know what? I really do need a Kindle. For some reason, I thought I needed a Kindle, even though I have all these books. Kindle is good for giving you less blue light or whatever before bed. So I decided to search Amazon for the best deal I could find. And I was in my library when I did it. And so I was looking at the shelves in my library, and I decided that they should be better organized. So I was debating, should they be by author or color? And I'm still on Amazon. So anyway, yesterday I received 3 Kindles, 3. I wanted 1, but I somehow pressed the wrong button. And also they're being shipped to my former home. I don't live there anymore. And that happens to me all the time. Hyperfocusing is something that I'm legendary for. I remember many years ago, my wife at that time kept looking into my study and asking me, "You're enjoying your birthday present?" Not yet. I haven't had a chance to open it or whatever. And so she just left me, came back another time. "Did you noticed anything?" With a little smile. And I said, "No, I haven't noticed anything," because I'm working on broadcasting a hockey game that night. I'm trying to memorize the jersey numbers and looking up statistics. So finally she comes in, you haven't seen your birthday present. And I said, "No, where is it?" She said, "Look over your right shoulder." And there was a gorgeous 8-foot-tall grandfather clock that had been chiming. And I'm in this room for 6 hours with it. And I never noticed it. Never. So, I mean, and she just kind of shrugged her shoulders, and that was it, because you would kind of notice something like that. Most people would. Those things happen to me all the time. And like even preparing for this episode 2 days ago, which is actually way in advance for me. I have to tell you, I've had a month to prepare for this. And in my mind, a month means I have 29 days to do nothing. And then on that 29th day, that's how I went through college. I would read War and Peace the night before the test. And basically all I knew it was about Russia. That was about it. But that's what happens when you try to read a 350-page book the night before. And still going around doing dorm chats with my friends. So anyway, I'm getting ready for this, and I thought I'd check on the Cubs. The Cubs were playing. And for some reason, I was thinking about one of the Cubs just had a baby. And it occurred to me, I wonder what a batting average of a player is the week after he has his first child. So that took a lot of research because I had to go through box scores. I had to research people with babies. And then, so that took almost 2 hours to come up with a list of, or a grid of batting average after baby, which could become a new statistic. And then, of course, I was tired and went to bed, so I never did work on the episode. Hyperfocus is actually a tremendous asset when it's important to me, but I don't hyperfocus on anything that I'm not interested in. Like I can hyperfocus on doing Wordle, crossword puzzles, gin rummy, researching baseball statistics, but hyperfocusing on paying my taxes, I don't have time for that. So, of course, I have late fees and penalties and everything else. And one time I had to I have a parking spot in my building, and I apparently was so disorganized I didn't pay the taxes. So I had to buy it back there's people out there that can buy real estate if it's in arrears on its taxes. So I had to buy back my parking spot for $3,000 because I didn't pay my taxes on it. I'm also very capable of mastering useless skills. Most people would not be very good at untangling paper clips, but I can, and I'm really good at it. If you look in my drawer, my paper clips, I can decide instead of working on my episode to disentangle them and then arrange them by size and color. Now, what the hell am I doing that for? I mean, that's ridiculous, but to me, I got that dopamine hit of, look at this, I'm pretty skilled. So I've done things like that. One time this is 2 weeks ago, I was arranging a golf date with some friends, and instead I was going to make a few phone calls to see if I could find some buddies. And I started to think about I've been having trouble putting. And I said, I like golf balls that have those lines drawn on that you can line up with the putter. The putter has a little notch on it to point toward the hole, but then you can line up the balls with it. So I said, maybe I can find balls. So now I went on to Amazon looking for a supply of golf balls that not only had the compression I liked, but the style, and also had the putting lines on it. So I never did get around to calling anybody, because then I went into, do I want to keep cold water bottles in the basement near my gym or just keep them up in the refrigerator in the kitchen? So then I started moving water bottles down into the basement. And this all started with me looking for a fourth for golf. And then I saw a couple of my golf clubs leaning against the wall, and I started to wonder why a 52 degrees wedge is different than a 54 degree wedge. So then I went on the internet to research that. And if this sounds disorganized, you haven't seen anything yet. So mastering useless skills, ignoring priorities, forgetting assignments, missing a lunch date. I do not have the luxury of not looking at my calendar in the morning. I do not have that luxury. I also am disorganized technology-wise. I never realized that my iPad and iPhone were not linked. So if I made an appointment on the iPad, it wasn't showing up on the iPhone. So I would miss appointments because of that. And of course, I put on my to-do list is go to Apple and see if they can help me. And that was last March. That was on my list from last March. Probably the 3 words I say more than anything else in my life is, oops, I forgot. That's kind of like a mantra. Oops, I forgot. I have, without exaggerating, around 20 pair of sunglasses because I forget sometimes to put them in my car. And then when I'm in the car, it's a very sunny day, so I have to stop at a local service station and buy another pair of glasses. And what happens is I hook them onto my shirt, and then I walk back into the house with the glasses on my shirt, and so they stay in the house. So that's how you have 20 pair of glasses. Trips to Target, that's an adventure. The other day I went, and this is another true story, I made a grocery list or a little shopping list to go to Target. I needed some cloth napkins and I wanted some almonds. And so also I needed almond milk and some turkey jerky and a waterproof earbuds for some reason. I ended up leaving the list at home, so I did not have my list with me. So I ended up spending over $200, and after I paid the bill, I left the register without actually taking the cart with me to the car. So my purchases were still in a basket sitting near the register, and I was walking out and someone said, "Yeah, you forgot your goods." It really was very interesting because before I had an ADHD coach, I would beat myself up for being stupid. All this stuff you're hearing, I would be really hard on myself saying, that is so stupid. And my coach is helping me understand that I just don't work like everybody else. I don't have a neurotypical brain. And what that means is neurotypical is the vast majority of people. That covers neurotypical. I'm in a category of maybe 5% of the population. So me beating myself up for forgetting things would like beating myself up for being left-handed, let's say. The world is designed for righties. So why would I beat myself up for being left-handed? I'm born that way. It's the way I am. So the idea of going to a store and coming back with nothing that I actually add in my shopping list is quite normal for me. Did I need those napkins and all that? And I ended up also with a garden hose. I didn't go there for a garden hose. I had a whole bunch of merchandise that I really didn't want, but I didn't have the turkey jerky. I didn't have the waterproof earbuds. So I don't have the luxury of remembering stuff unless it's important. For example, when I was married, I did not know my mother-in-law's birthday, and she was in my life longer than my own mother. But I would know Sammy Sosa's slugging percentage for the Cubs back in 1998. Now, how could anything be less important to that? So what I'd be looking for during these podcasts is for people to share their oops, to share their funny stories. And I want you to understand you're not crazy. You're not defective. You're just wired differently. We are wired differently. And a lot of times people like us come up with fantastic ideas that nobody's thought of. We see things that nobody else sees. We've envisioned things that could be. I'm sure President Kennedy had no idea how to get to the moon. He just said, we're getting there in 9 years, and hired every PhD on the planet to get there. So I'm not disabled. I am gifted in certain ways, and I need to not beat myself up for the mistakes I made. And I think these are myths that we are disabled. I don't buy that at all. I need to be forgiving of myself. One of the things that haunted me my whole life was the first job I ever had. It was at 31 Flavors. And I got fired after a week. Why? Because I wasn't making change and I wasn't making the banana split the way he wanted me to make it. Why? Because I wasn't paying attention. When he's telling me about the banana split, I was wondering who was the starting shortstop going to be for the Cubs that day because there was an injury. Why? I'm making change. This man is losing money because of me. Of course I got fired. But I always thought I got fired because I was stupid. No, I was fired because I wasn't doing a good job and I needed to pay attention to things that were very important to him, but they weren't important to me. I don't care if the banana split had too much butterscotch on it. I didn't care. I wasn't listening. I am not a lazy, unmotivated man. I'm just particular about what motivates me and what I care about. If I care about something, just get out of my way. Yes, I'm selectively motivated. I'll get my dopamine where I can get it. And I feel like I have in my brain, there's two guys in there. One guy is like a puppy looking for the next interesting thing. And it could be a toy made in China that could make him sick, or it could be something that's very good for him. The other guy is holding up a help sign saying, you got to pay your taxes. Put the game down with stop the crossword puzzle. If you don't get this taxes in, you're going to pay a fine tomorrow or whatever it happens to be. And then what I'm learning from my coach, there's a metacognition thing. There's a guy on top of the two other guys saying, wait a minute, you got to obey the guy with the help sign. You can stand over there for a while. Neurotypical people don't have those competing guy with the help sign and the puppy. They don't have that. They're not interacting or competing for attention, a neurotypical person, but I live like that. So that's an important thing to understand, that I'm not stupid. I'm not disabled. I'm differently abled. And I know that's a euphemism now or cliche, but I'm the kind of guy you need for certain things and the kind of guy you should avoid for other things. For example, at Christmas, until she stopped me, I used to put together the children's toys. I would put together a baby tricycle. It would be very normal for 15 pieces to be left when I thought the thing was finished. She said, you don't want the baby to get on that thing. It could fall apart. So now it's 4:30 in the morning when I finally read the directions. There was a time where we had a play McDonald house. I'll never forget this. And it snowed very heavily. It was Christmas Eve. We got home from a party. And I said, I'm really clever. I'm going to put it together in the garage where I won't make any noise. And I was very proud of myself. And about 2:30, my wife came in the garage, says, are you finished? I said, yes, look at this. And she said, honey, how are you going to get this into the house? This can't possibly fit through the garage door. I go, oh my God. I said, well, I can take it out through the car garage door. And she said, well, there's 2 feet of snow out there. You're going to have to drag that through. So I had to take it apart. First of all, I was going to pick it up and throw it against the wall. And she said, no, don't do it. So I took it apart and then reassembled it to a point where I can manage to sneak it through the garage door. But that's a very common story for somebody like me. Reading directions for something is, I'd rather have a root canal than read directions for anything. So I think the best tip of the day that I can give you is on something important, and I've learned this from my coach, and this is the best take-home value I can give you. No matter how important it is and how badly you want to do it, don't wait for inspiration. Don't. It won't come. Start it first, and the inspiration and motivation will come when you get into it. 1 year ago, I was talking with the team that's helping me do the podcast 1 year ago, and it took me 1 year to actually start doing it. And I waited to be motivated. And I've learned that I can't wait for that. Most of the time, if I'm motivated, it's going to be something silly like, I think I can get a 10 on this Wordle game. I needed to spend every day working on this podcast starting a year ago. If you're waiting for inspiration, you're in trouble. At least I am, and people like us. And if you are living with an ADHD person, wondering why they won't replace the burned out light bulbs in the garage, maybe you'll understand. So I will look forward to talking with you again, and I can't tell you what it'll be about, but it'll be interesting. Hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from you. I'd love to hear your stories and your suggestions, but we'll have to wait till next time. This has been Chase Squirrelson. Thank you. If this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who'd get it. You can follow the show so you don't miss the next conversation. And if you feel like it, a quick rating helps the show a great deal. Either way, I appreciate you being here. We'll talk soon.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. The content reflects personal experiences and opinions and is not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, mental health, or legal advice. Flint Rock LLC, the hosts, and guests make no representation or warranties and assume no liability for decisions or actions taken based on this content. Always consult a qualified professional regarding your own situation.